The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight.
Are there some people who don't like me because of my race? I'm sure there are.
President Obama reiterating that opinion in an interview with a magazine. Tonight, I will analyze the president and the race factor.
The more we learn about Chris Christie, the more he does look like Richard Nixon.
New Jersey Governor Christie furious at the NBC News cable operation for attacking him over the bridge controversy. Britt Hume will weigh in on that.
Bill O'Reilly says hello, by the way.
Oh, tell him I asked.
Also tonight, Jesse Waters swimming with the swells at the Sundance Film Festival.
He just wants to know if you feel let down by the president.
I don't know why you're being provocative, but yeah.
Caution. You are about to enter the no spin zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight on this Martin Luther King federal holiday. President Obama and race, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The president gave an interview to the New Yorker magazine, a liberal publication generally supportive of his administration. In that interview, Mr. Obama talked about race. Quote, "There's no doubt that there's some folks who just really dislike me because they don't like the idea of a black president. Now, the flip side of it is that there are some black folks and maybe some white folks who really like me and give me the benefit of the doubt precisely because I'm a black president." That assessment, 100% correct. To his credit, Barack Obama has not used race in his quest for power. As a mixed-race individual, the president knows how difficult that circumstance can be, but he has not addressed it in any substantial way. Again, that is to his credit because, as president, he represents all Americans. The president has written books that deal with his life and challenges. But in the public arena, Mr. Obama has been cautious and responsible on the race issue. That has angered some on the far left and some race hustlers who want Mr. Obama to be more proactive in promoting African-American policies. Cornel West, for example, has excoriated the president for not being more sensitive to black issues. I believe Dr. West, who teaches at Princeton, is misguided. The truth is that the race factor in America is not an overwhelming problem anymore. Mr. Obama won 2 elections, and although his standing among white Americans is now in decline, that's primarily because of the economy and Obamacare. It has little to do with race. Upon his inauguration in 2009, Barack Obama had a nearly 70% approval rating, very high for any politician. That proves the USA has made dramatic improvements in the race arena. There's no question about it. Finally, Talking Points believes that minority Americans do have a much tougher time succeeding in the marketplace, generally speaking, than affluent whites, for example. But it all comes down to something that is accessible in America: education and personal responsibility. Black Americans should understand that if they study and work hard, they will likely succeed in this country. And that's the message about race that all good and honest people should be promoting. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction with us, Reverend Jacques DeGraaf, a Fox News analyst, and from Boynton Beach, Florida, former Congressman Alan West, also an FNC contributor. And you say, Mr. West?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I think that on this day when we are remembering and celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said his dream was about blacks being judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, that's really what this comes down to, and I agree. This is about equality of opportunity. It's not about equality of outcomes, and I think one of the things that you see affecting the president right now is the fact that he has had some problems with, let's say, the truth when it comes to Benghazi, comes to Obamacare, when we see some of the failures of the economic policies. That race has nothing to do with it whatsoever, and I can understand why all of a sudden it's being interjected in this interview as well, unless it's some.
Yeah, but you know, they're always going to ask him about it. I thought his answer, well, I didn't have any problem with his answer. Did you have any problem with his answer?
Well, I just think that it was something he should have said, that this is not a concern of mine. The biggest concern that I have for the United States of America right now is our economy, our national security, our foreign
but
policy.
I mean, you know, look, he's doing an interview. I think he answered the question accurately. You say?
I thought it was an outstanding interview, very comprehensive, and I agree that he answered the question. I'm satisfied with his answer, and I think he it moves the country forward.
Okay. In what way does it move the country forward?
Well, I think he attempted to put it in perspective, the perspective of his presidency, and that there are limits that any individual can do, and there are also things that are universal to every president, no matter what the color of their skin.
Well, what impressed me about it, Mr. West, was that what he said was honest. There are some white Americans, very few in my opinion, that dislike him because he's black. Very few, in my opinion, but there are some. But on the other hand, there are some black Americans who like him just because he's black. They don't know anything about him, anything about his policies. They don't know what he does day to day, but they like him because of his skin color. They offset. And the president made that point, and I thought it was that's what impressed me about the question about race. Am I wrong?
No, I'll agree with that because, as a matter of fact, it was former chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, Emanuel Cleaver, that said we give deference to the president, and if there was anyone else in the White House, we'd be marching on the White House. So that's a very accurate assessment that there are people that have voted for him because of the color of his skin, because they felt some type of unity in themselves being black. But I think that there comes a time where we're going to have to move beyond this issue of trying to divide us upon race and talk about really what are policies, what are the important aspects of character,
I think that was
what are the
done,
important
though.
Aspects of leadership.
I absolutely think it was done because McCain and Romney, neither of them brought race into anything. So I think we did have that debate. Now, Reverend DeGraff, you have Cornel West and Tavis Smiley and a number of people on what I consider the far left, although Smiley, I don't think I'd put him there, but West certainly. And they're mad at Barack Obama because he hasn't, really made it a singular cause to advance opportunities, as they put it, for black Americans. How do you react to that?
Well, I think Cornel, who I know and I respect, I think his tone is harmful to our progress, number one. Number two, I think he ignores certain things. One of the things you talked about was personal responsibility. Personal responsibility, the article also mentioned, the president of the United States eats with his family every night at 6:30. I think that's important as an example, as a model for a community that has 73% of children born out of wedlock.
And I agree with you 100% that he has been an excellent role model, not only for black Americans, but for all Americans. Absolutely. In that regard. However, I wish he had done more. I don't want to sound like Cornel West now, but I wish he had done more on the personal responsibility message into the precincts, not just black precincts, but white and Hispanic precincts, that you have to do the things necessary to succeed in a competitive society. You can't be a victim your whole life. I would have liked to have seen that.
Look at his Morehouse speech. Look at his...
No, but those are isolated things. I want a campaign, Reverend. I want a campaign.
Well, then you're giving him powers that I think...
No, he has a bully pulpit.
He has been using the bully pulpit and his example throughout. It's not always been publicized.
I bet you Mr. West disagrees that he has used his bully pulpit to preach personal responsibility. Don't you, Mr. West?
Yes, I think that you've seen a lot of blame. You've seen a lot of personal victimization coming from the president. But let's talk about an important issue. Let's talk about an important issue, Bill. You talked about education and school choice, and the voucher program is very important. But one of the first things that President Obama did was cancel the D.C. school voucher program for very,
That's a very sore issue. That
children.
Absolutely is a sore issue. But it's also a partisan issue. What I want, and I'm going to give you both 20 seconds to wrap it up. Mr. West, you'll go first. What I want the president to do in his last 3 years in office, and if I get an opportunity to talk to him again, I'm going to ask him to do it, is to stop the policy stuff and start the personal stuff. This is what you have to do to succeed. Barack Obama, succeeded. And this is what I did. This is what I did, and you have to do it too. I think that message would be more than any policy message. 20 seconds, Mr. West, 20 seconds to you. Go ahead.
I would thoroughly agree with you. I grew up in the same neighborhood as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My elementary school was right across the street from Ebenezer Baptist Church. So I think that our lives should be living examples.
You bet. You walk the walk. How about you, Reverend?
My mentor was Martin Luther King's chief of staff, but I believe that he ought to do those things and these. I think every time he's in a meeting with these high-roller donors, he ought to ask them, what is the composition of your board? What is the composition of your workforce? What is the composition of your executive suites? And open the doors of opportunity. He doesn't need Congress to do that.
All right, very good debate, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Next on the Rundown, Governor Christie goes after NBC News. Brit Hume will tell us if that is wise. Later, the Bible and President Obama. New book says there's a link. We are coming right back.